No problem.
Anyway.
They can wait because I'm the chairing the conference and everybody can listen to me.
we just make joking between the speaker. You most welcome. Thank you so much, Dr. Hanadi. We move with Dr. Ariella. That's right. I pronounce your name. You can open your mic, please.
Yep.
Yes. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. How are you? You are Vice President Stiletto, Canada, right?
Yep. Stiletto, based in Canada.
Oh, thank you so much. We are so happy you are with us. And which part in Canada now you are?
So I'm based in Toronto, in Ontario, but our company is national. We have offices from the Atlantic coast to the West Coast.
Oh, okay. It's a lovely city, Toronto. I've been in Toronto, Halifax. Yes.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, yes, please. The mic with you.
Sure. So thank you again for having me on. So as Dr. Salwa mentioned, my name is Ariella Lukach, and I am Vice President of Strategy and Positioning with Stiletto. And let me actually share my screen and let me know that you can see it.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. So Stiletto is a market research and strategic planning firm, and we specialize in high impact projects for organizations and communities. And when I say high impact, I mean trying to move the needle either by improving existing activities that you have, or by developing a new initiative, a new district. And we actually work at the intersection of industry, government, and academia to really drive economic growth and social prosperity. And since everybody here is probably related to the innovation ecosystem, quite a few of the organizations you might be associated with do as well. If it's an innovation district, a tech park, an accelerator, an incubator, an academic institution, so you know that you really need people from across the different sectors and actually from across different industries as well to really have meaningful movement and to really drive economic growth and social prosperity. And the way that we help organizations and communities become more better is by helping them become more focused, more resilient, and more competitive. We do work coast to coast. We mainly work in Canada and the US, a little bit in Europe as well. And I did want to highlight a couple of key organizations. We do work with research and technology parks. These are just the 27 in Canada. There are about 200 in the US and quite a few more in Europe as well. And we do work with other partners across the globe, really, if from the public, private, academic sectors, to really build cohesion and linkages in the innovation ecosystem and the innovation support ecosystem. And again, I'm sure everybody listening in today know how important it is to have critical mass and to really learn from each other and have connections. So today I wanted to talk to you about something that is very close to our hearts and we really do think is best practice when it comes to innovation ecosystems, and that's economic and social impact assessments. And I'm sure everybody is somewhat familiar with economic impact, but I'll just kind of give a refresher. Economic impact is really measured using traditional indicators. So if you talk about GDP growth, number of jobs, wages and salaries, government tax revenue, those are really traditional indicators that organizations quite often report on to show the impact that they have. What we do is we actually add two layers to this traditional economic impact, which is the first one being forecasting, and forecasting meaning looking into the future. So how do you not just look back and what your organization has done to date, but how do you actually look into the future and see, by existing alone, but also with specific activities that you're doing, what impact can you have? And then we actually add a layer on top of that. And this other layer is social and environmental impact. And so I'll try to kind of explain what is driving the need for this in our opinion. And so I believe everybody has seen that growth that is not inclusive or sustainable. And when I say inclusive, I mean inclusive of people of various realities, whether if it's socio-demographic, if it's ethnic, if it's people with disabilities, people with different backgrounds. And when I say sustainable, I mean economic, social, environmental. So growth that is not inclusive or sustainable really leads to socioeconomic imbalances. And we have seen this recently almost erupt in the wake of COVID-19. We have seen that COVID-19 had disproportionate impact on different communities. People with lower income levels were much more affected than people with higher income levels. Women have been dramatically more affected than men, as an example, because the household chores really fell to them. We've also seen social unrest globally. We've seen the Black Lives Matter movement. We've seen the Me Too movement. And again, this is a result of growth that was imbalanced in terms of genders, in terms of income. And we've also seen over the years, pollution and global warming really increasing quite exponentially. And what is happening is, as you can see from the social unrest, is that there is really a desire to do something different. And so organizations, governments, and really organizations in the innovation ecosystem as being seen in the forefront of progress are really required to deliver significantly more value. And this is coming from any stakeholder that you are responding to. So if it's public demand that requires technology, so it requires startups, innovators, ecosystem to really drive and facilitate growth that is socially and environmentally responsible. If it's investors and funders that want to support organizations that will create social and environmental benefit in addition to financial results. And so you will see investors in startups, or if it's angels, VCs, and other funders that really do not just want to hear about your technology and how many jobs you're going to create or what your exit will be, but they actually want to see that there's public and or environmental good that comes with it as well. So what we're seeing as a result is that traditional metrics of reporting are simply not enough. So we always say that what you can measure is what you can control. So organizations in the innovation ecosystem, so again, if it's the innovators themselves, the startups, the scale-ups, if it's the support ecosystem, the accelerators, the tech parks, incubators, and innovation districts, really need to understand their impacts and the repercussions of their activities in the short term, but also in the medium and long term. As we have seen with the pollution and environmental degradation, some things don't happen in a day. And so you really need to look into the longer term future to really have positive impact, if not just neutral. And so this is true from the design phase of activities and initiatives, all the way to daily ongoing operations. And you really need these insights to really adjust and fine tune what you are doing. And so I hope that I have convinced you that these whys really bring the who, really everybody. So if it's companies of all scales, if it's post-secondary education institutions, if it's governments, economic development organizations, and of course, people like us that are in the innovation support ecosystem that really work at the intersection of all of these, all really need to understand their impacts for buy-in, for market appeal, for funding, for ongoing success, and really just to really have a positive impact, because I'm sure most people wake up in the morning and want to know that what they're doing is really bettering the world, if it's from their local community all the way to the technology that you're working on that you're hoping is going to save the planet. So we have developed a proprietary model for measuring social impact and social environmental impact using the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And I hope that everybody at this point know the SDGs, but if not, I encourage you to go on the United Nations website and learn about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. They were developed in 2015 with the vision and the foresight from global leaders who really understood that the way we have been doing things is not right. We have not been growing in a way that is sustainable and that is really creating divides and gaps. And so they developed this framework to really start thinking of the future in a better way. And so our model builds on these SDGs, and we incorporate inputs from an economic impact assessment. So I just want to give an example just to kind of get you to think of how you can do it. And this is an example of two academic institutions that came together with an idea to create an innovation district that would have not just them, but other academic institutions, companies, economic development organizations. And their goal was, but the focus of the district would be on clean tech. And the goal was to really start with bettering their local community. So their local community has had economic degradation over time and resulted in quite a few people with low income that had to commute out of the region to find better employment. And so their idea was, well, why don't we build this innovation district that would have better jobs for the local community, that would have graduates from our academic institutions, that would give them a place of employment and of relevant employment. And of course, being focused on clean tech or clean technology, we would actually be working on solutions that would really better the world in terms of environment. And so what we did is we actually looked at the SDGs and sort of grouped them into time scales. So if you think of the short term, they were really trying to make an impact in their local community and really improve their community and citizen quality of life. So if it's, of course, quality education, if it's decent work and economic growth through these jobs that are being created, if it's gender equality, really wanting to make sure that the people in these jobs would be with gender balance. And so these are sort of the micro level indicators. And then their vision and hope is that sort of in the medium term, can we take what we had learned in this district and really replicate it in other parts of the country and really build resilient communities around the country, as well as keep working on the technologies and the knowledge that is coming out of this district. And then the hope is that in the really long term, we would actually be able to create sustainable social change in the global scale by applying these knowledge and these models, by really deploying technologies and knowledge that is developed in this district in other locations across the globe. I do want to address one last thing before I wrap up, and that's the impact of COVID-19. And so we know that COVID-19 has changed the economic landscape on all scales, from the local to national and global.
Excuse me. 2 minutes left for you.
Okay, thanks, Doctor.
Okay.
But that with this rapidly changing situation, industries and all the way from the industry scale to the individual organization scales are really facing unprecedented challenges. What we do know is that there's been a spectrum in terms of how organizations have been impacted. So on one end of the spectrum, the traditional industries like tourism, like automotive or traditional manufacturing has suffered. While on the other end of the spectrum, some have been lucky because of demand, like medical supply and services, but others have been thinking of how they can pivot and how they can do better to really weather sort of this storm. So if traditional retail has been impacted dramatically, you have seen e-commerce growing really well. Or if traditional manufacturing has been hurt, manufacturers that pivoted to essential manufacturing have done well. So I will leave you with this one last thought. As you think about your operations and your activities and trying to recover from this pandemic, how do you build back better? And I'm sure you've heard this term, build back better. It's not just a slogan, it's true. So how do you incorporate groups that are really disproportionately affected, like displaced middle-aged workers, like international students, like Indigenous people? And how do you make sure that we have equity and sustainability in how we build. And social and environmental impact assessment really helps quantify and highlight the efforts toward helping these groups. So with that, I hope I'm on time, and I'll stop my share. And I hope that that this was informative and got you thinking.
Yes, thank you so much for such amazing